joined today by League of Ireland legend Ronan Finn. Ronan, an absolute honour to get you on the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem, Ross. Glad to be of assistance. Keeping well, back in pre-season now. So looking forward to getting going, I suppose, in a few weeks.
Just going to start off by asking you, what football team did you support when you were growing up?
The family, well, my brothers were Liverpool fans, so naturally that was the choice that was made for me, really. So no, I always grew up following Liverpool. There was football was always a big thing in the house. So just playing with them, watching Liverpool. That's I suppose how it started.
Do you have any really early memories supporting the team in a good way or a bad way or anything?
It was probably I probably started supporting Liverpool on the when they were unfortunately on the back of maybe I know they had a lot of success in the in the 80s and then in the 90s, early 90s, when I really understood what was going on and knew a bit more about football. I think that's when Man United took over. So no, it wasn't always it wasn't a lot of glory days out for me. But no, I suppose I was never going to support anyone else. Obviously, coming from two older brothers that support Liverpool.
Yeah, no choice, no matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was your favourite player? Do you remember? And why was he?
As a kid, my favourite player. I had Ian Rush on the back of my Liverpool jersey. Whether he was my favourite player, I think he could have been my brother's favourite player. So that was the choice that was made. Growing up, it was always, as soon as Steven Gerrard really came on the scene, he was always, and still kind of would be someone that I've throughout my career just, looked at as a, fantastic professional, fantastic footballer. As a kid, can't really remember, maybe not one individual player. Obviously, as I got a bit older and understood a bit more, Gerrard was always the one that you'd try and, emulate if you could your game off.
Do you remember getting into football yourself? And who were your schoolboy club?
Yeah, just played local club, just played for Artane Beaumont, great club to start off with. Just friends, really, just lads off the road. We are basically all joined together, and we had success. We won a league. It was great playing with your mates, and I suppose at that age it's really important just having that enjoyment of football. In terms of there's a that element of pressure will come later on in your career as you get older. But I think when you're 7 and 8, 9, it's just your starting point. You want to play with a smile on your face. You play with your friends, and I think that's still really important now. It's part of your development. Enjoying football. If you're going in and you're under too much stress as a kid, worried about football, I'm not sure whether you're really going to enjoy it that much. So no, that's where I started. I at the moment, then moved on from there.
Yeah. So going into your teens, then did you move on to a different schoolboy club, or was there kind of more pressure involved when you got kind of 14?
Yeah,
15?
yeah, I did. Exactly. No, I moved on to Kevin's. After 3 years, I think, and straight away there's more pressure. You're playing with better players. You're playing in the back then it was the DBSL Premier. You were playing against really good opposition, and definitely knows the jumping standard straight away. And you're obviously playing against the best young Dublin players from your age group, playing against the best teams. And we unfortunately wouldn't have been that strong. We would have held our own in terms of we were a mid-table team for throughout my whole schoolboy career. We never got relegated, but we never won anything. But still I learned my trade there, and fond memories.
How did you come aware of a kind of possibility that you could go abroad? When did that kind of come about?
I suppose maybe we actually had a link with Peterborough United, when I first went to Kevin's. I think it was the second year into me St. Kevin's, into the second season, that there was a link developed with Peterborough. And Peterborough at the time were really strong academy, and they were a good club maybe to be affiliated with. I think at the time Home Farm or with Everton, I think Lords were with Liverpool. There was some, other clubs, rival clubs were getting links, and Peterborough came up for us. And it was a really good one. So at that age, at 12, I think I made my first trip away. And then I kind of would have consistently went away with Peterborough every school holiday, and throughout the summer, maybe if their season was starting back a little bit early. But really any midterm break, in and around Christmas when you had time off school, you go over, there'd be games you're playing over there, or where there'd be tournaments away. So it actually it started quite young for me.
Yeah. Ended up being Cambridge that you ended up signing for as a youth player. How was that whole experience?
Yeah, well, the Peterborough Academy broke up, so basically everybody from our Peterborough, my team, the teams above me, teams below me, everybody was basically the academy was just null and void.
Yeah.
So all the staff, all the players, everybody moved to Cambridge United really, and I was part of that. So no, it was at the time Peterborough would have been in the old the championship. Now it would be Peterborough would have been in League One.
Yeah.
So when I'd signed for it, they would have been in League One, but they were on the way down really. They were struggling. And then I think the year I signed it got relegated. So then they were in League Two, so which would have been the old Division Two. And my youth team was very good. We had some great players, some really good players who went on that, and are still playing now, some really good footballers. We were strong, but the first team was struggling. And that was a bit of a telltale sign for me that I was still traveling over from school every Friday. I'd leave school on a Friday, and I'd get the plane over, play my match Saturday morning with Cambridge, and then I'd fly home Saturday night. That was allowed me to finish my leaving cert.
Yeah.
But as the months were going by, obviously you're due to move over full time in the summer. And I think Cambridge, if I'm not mistaken, done back-to-back relegations, and I think they were when I was due to move over full time, they were in the conference, and it's just not something that I was back home and I was training at home, and I know then the UCD thing started to come up with for me, and that's something that I kind of took more of an interest in, and I just told Cambridge that I was going to explore other avenues, and obviously they weren't too happy at the time, but it was a decision that I didn't regret.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Just touching on that, how difficult was that kind of flying over after school on the Friday, playing on the Saturday, and then coming back? How difficult was that whole process?
Yeah, it was strange. It was just something that the option was never allowed to leave school. I never really wanted to leave school anyway, but I was just never allowed to leave school. So this was the alternative. I'd signed a contract. I think I'd signed a 3-year contract. And the first year of this contract was to be done, spent in Dublin, traveling back and forth. But again, I was looking at the bigger picture. I was looking at the first team, back-to-back relegations, and then I was looking at the situation at home. I was doing okay in school, and I knew the UCD scholarship was something that had been mentioned to me, and my family had, they were keen on that idea as well of exploring it. And I just, ultimately that was just the road I took. I just the flying over was tough in the sense that they wanted me over more and more as the months were going by.
Yeah.
They didn't really understand the education part in Ireland. They just really wanted you there. Now they were fine with it in the sense that they weren't putting me under massive pressure. But the leaving cert was big for me, and I just wasn't willing to jeopardize leaving school to pursue something that I wasn't, fully backing. And then I felt that, going to UCD was definitely the right move for me.
Yeah. Moving back home then, did it take you time to adapt to the League of Ireland at all, or how did you find that whole process as well?
Well, the year I'd spent playing in Cambridge, and you were playing against really good teams. You were playing the FAU Cup. You were playing really good standard on a Saturday morning against good opposition, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the football. I loved the football over there. You're playing great pitches. You're playing in really good facilities. So no, I have to say I did enjoy that element of it. And the traveling did get a little bit tough at times and bit annoying. Obviously your social life takes a bit of a hit as well.
Of course, yeah.
But no, coming back, I come back and luckily the UCD team that I came back to was so strong, was run really well. Dermot McNally's there, still there now. Dermot really good at what he does. And they were also blooding in, young players into the first team, which was, for me, which was a massive thing. So now we had a really good under 21s team. So I was 17, but I was playing under 21s football. So it was great. You're playing against, maybe first team players on a Saturday from St. Pat's or Shells, or whoever, Rovers, Bows, whoever it was that maybe hadn't played for their first team on the Friday night, so they'd come back and play. A Saturday morning, they were allowed 4 overage players, so you were always playing against, good teams, good opposition. And so now I loved under 21 football. I think for me, it was a massive part of my development.
Yeah. What were the main differences you'd say between England and Ireland? What were the big things you could see, like maybe facilities wise and stuff like that?
Yeah, probably facilities. Just purely wouldn't remember. Obviously, it's a long time ago now. Facilities probably would be the main thing. But in fairness to UCD, when I was there, they had brilliant facilities. We had great strength and conditioning rooms. They were really ahead of their time. UCD, they obviously had the college backing in terms of facilities. They had gym. They had maybe a lot. They probably had the best facilities in the league. To be fair, obviously be on the back of the college. So no, I was lucky in that regard, and I was treated really well at UCD, and would always speak very highly of them.
Just a quick one for you. Just kind of we're seeing now maybe like the young players in the League of Ireland. They're kind of playing a season or two in the League of Ireland before going abroad. Do you think, looking back at your career, would you have benefited maybe from a year or two playing League of Ireland football before going abroad? Do you think that's the best way of doing it for young players, or do you think it's a good process going over as a teenager?
I think it's a great process if you stay and play men's football. You look at our league, you look at us, for example. Like, I think if you're a young boy coming up against, Shamrock Rovers at the minute, you're going to be playing against a good level of opposition. I think if you look around the league, I think, there's a high level of technical ability. And then for young boys coming up, test themselves against teams like us, it's great. And even young boys within our own group coming in, training with us every day, it's a real, giving them a real platform to, if they are to make the move away, that they're maybe that bit more ready.
Yeah.
I think, again, it depends on education. If a young boy is 15, 16, obviously its rules have changed now with Brexit. But maybe before Brexit coming in, I think if there's a 16-year-old and he's just no appetite for school, he doesn't like school, and he wants to move away, I think there's a lot to be said for just letting him go and playing in a full-time environment. Yeah. I think if there's a kid and he was good at school and he, was happy to finish leaving, said, I'd always suggest staying, finishing school and having that bit of education behind you. Getting into a good football club, learning your trade, playing within the league. And then, you look around the Irish national team, there's been a lot of players who have done that, played, maybe 2 or 3 seasons in the League of Ireland and then made the move across. So there's pros and cons to both, but I think education, is a massive factor in the decision you make as a 15, 16-year-old. If you just do not like school, you're getting into trouble at home, maybe you're better off going away. But as I said, if you can handle your education and combine it with football, I think it's a great one to have.
Definitely, great answer as well. Because there's different circumstances for different people as well. So it's each person's different.
There's no completely right answer yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just come back to yourself then. Obviously, great spell at UCD. You won Young Player of the Year. And moving on to sport and Fingal then, how did that come about? And that was you joined them there in the Premier Division, didn't you?
Yeah. No, we'd actually beaten them in the we'd won the league. We'd won the first division. We were very strong. Our UCD team was very strong. Was very young. We'd actually got relegated the year before in the first division, and Martin Russell was the manager. We'd assembled a really good young squad, and we won the league well. So that was a brilliant year for me. Then obviously the opportunity to I finished my degree in UCD, and the opportunity to play full-time football became an option. And I suppose as a young player, the option of playing full-time football, and Fingal were building a good squad, and that was important to me. I wanted to maybe push on, test myself, and ultimately that was based on the decision made. As I said, I had a great time UCD, but I think at the time it was the right decision for me to move on.
Looking at the back of that Fingal team, Sean Williams and I, was an unbelievable side, wasn't it? Incredible incredible players in that team.
Yeah, no, we were strong. We were, we had a good mix of youth coming through, like young lads, and then obviously the more experienced players who were, Sean Maher, Glenn Crowe, Gary O'Neill, really, really good footballers who had great careers, and then for us to learn off them. But no, it was a great, again, learning curve for me. You're coming into a full-time football club, and it was again, part of the stepping stone really for me.
Of course, I think it was the one season you spent there, and then the club unfortunately went out of business. From a player's perspective, what was that like? Was that just a crazy situation? Like you just didn't know what was happening day to day?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was, obviously it's still it's a long time ago now, but it was.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate, obviously, at the time. I mean, the club had been building, I suppose, and they'd had a success, and now they'd won the FAI Cup. They'd just been promoted, so it was maybe the project was fast tracked, and maybe expenditure, wages, everything had increased maybe to what they initially had expected. I think that the plan for Fingal maybe was 5-6 years, to be in this position. I think they got there after 3. But listen, that was down to the downturn in the economy. I know everything started to crash. I think the money just fell out of the league, and the way that Fingal was built, it obviously wouldn't have the sustainability that a club like Shamrock Rovers would have, with the supporters, with the backing, things like that. So it just, the infrastructure just wasn't there behind the scenes, and it suffered. But again, for me as a player, it was a great kind of stepping stone for me to push on then after that.
100%. Yeah, obviously joining Shamrock Rovers then, and you won the league with them, and playing in the group stage of the Europa League as well. Was that just what was that like in the Europa League as well? I'd say it was just crazy, was it?
Yeah, well, I joined Rovers and they just won the league, so you knew you were coming into a very competitive team. And Michael was the manager. And I suppose when you sign for a team that are champions, you're automatically coming into a good dressing room. But again, you have to up your game because ultimately competition is going to be very strong. So Shamrock Rovers back then was different to what it is now in terms of the training ground we have now, things like that. But the winning mentality was always there. The pressure from the fans was always there.
Yeah.
And then for me coming in, maybe from UCD and Sporting Fingal, which, two clubs that wouldn't have had the same, even close to the same exposure, the same expectancy levels.
Was that a big change for you, just seeing that in terms of maybe the fan base as well? Was that just a huge difference?
Yeah, no, I did. It was a massive change, but it's something that I enjoyed. It wasn't something that worried me or maybe shying away. It was something that I enjoyed, and playing in front of talent was coming in. I remember the first game I played, and I was a friendly against Waterford, and it was just a friendly, but there was easily a couple of thousand at the game, and you automatically knew you were in a real football club. And again, just the expectancy was there from the fans, from them, from the word go. It hasn't changed. It's just it's high expectancy levels, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, you've of course played in some magical European nights with Rovers on Dock. Just how special were they? And sometimes was the sense of the occasion maybe overwhelming at times in some of those nights?
No, something that you just maybe when you retire, they're the day of the night you remember most. Wouldn't say most fondly, but they're big occasions. Playing in White Hart Lane, places like that. Something that you can look back on, and they're big nights. I think even this year coming up, you get the sense of enthusiasm around Tala. Around the league, the buzz when European football starts. It's always a good time for the league, and expectancy is high, and it will be no different this year. Like for us, we as champions, we've got a route now to, we've got a couple of chances to maybe to push on through the rounds. I know last year we fell at the final hurdle, and it's something that we need to look to maybe get beyond. But there's a lot of football to be played between now and then. But no, in saying that, European football, definitely special time, and they're the nights you really remember.
Ahead of the 2017 campaign, then you rejoined Rovers, of course, and you were made club captain. Just how proud and how much of an honour was that?
Yeah, it was a huge honour. Something that still unbelievably honoured to do. You know, I'm very proud because you look down, there's a list of previous captains, and then now having won 2 leagues, an FAI Cup, and the squad we've assembled, something that I'm very proud of. And to be fair, the hunger's still there within the squad to go to do it again. The managers, signed really well this year, and so now I'm very privileged, and just hopefully looking for more success.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you found working with Stephen Bradley? Of course, you mentioned there just you've achieved so much success together. How have you found the whole process with him? Have you really enjoyed working under him?
Yeah, from day one, this was the plan. Like Stephen was, when I left Dundalk, this was the plan. He'd always said, this is where we need to be. It's going to take time, and I was under no illusions that would take a few seasons for us to be competitive. We were that competitive, and then it took us another season to win our league, and then last year to retain the league. But no, he's been brilliant tactically, brilliant. The whole staff, they've a great ethos amongst them, and then that spills down into the players. It starts from the top. Their standards are so high. They let us away with nothing in terms of our standards, but they give us everything. They give us the best opportunity to produce on a Friday night. And that's what it's all about. It's about, results on a Friday night. And they give us every chance to be successful. The work they do, a lot of it goes unseen. Even from us as players, you know what I mean? We wouldn't see the work they put in, the hours they put in. We got home after training. They're up in the office, they're preparing, they're, whether it's, opposition analysis, whether, it's recruitment, whatever it is, the work they put in. Ultimately, it's to give us the best chance to win on a Friday night. And luckily, as players, we've been doing that more often than not the last few years.
We've seen last season or two, you've evolved into kind of a wing-back role as well. How have you found that?
Yeah, I've no problem playing wing-back. I enjoy it. It's something I did, throughout my career. I would have at times played wide right, different stages of my career. So I knew it was not something I maybe expected. When I was younger, to you nearly go the opposite, maybe come inside. But no, it's been great because to be honest, we've got really, really strong players. In the central area, and I feel it allows us to get more players into the team, whilst also allow me to play. To be honest, I play, I don't mind where I play. I just I want to make sure that I'm playing every Friday night, and we're really, really strong in the middle of the park. Our attacking options from the central area are really strong, and I'm enjoying playing right wing back. Luckily to play with such talented players that we link well, and I'm enjoying it. Once my body's still fit and strong and healthy, hopefully I'll continue to keep playing there.
Absolutely. Just looking, you're mentioning the strength in the squad. Obviously, Jack Byrne coming back now for the season ahead. Just it's an incredible squad that Bradley's assembled there. Have you seen in pre-season so far all the players combined? Richie Towell, Jack Byrne, Mandrew. It's just crazy seeing it in training and stuff. Is it?
Yeah, training's very competitive. You know what I mean? It's great. You're in a. I'm sure the manager's delighted to be in this position where he. Maybe as years gone by, he maybe had to recruit 5, 6, 7 players to make it stronger this year. As the years went on, it became less and less.
Yeah.
This year we've brought in a couple of players, Jack and Andy. Again, I think that's where the position the manager wants me in. Doesn't want massive turnover. Doesn't want changing the whole dynamic of the group. The group dynamic is still so strong. To be fair, it's all about the overall squad. It's not just about the 11 on the pitch. It's your bench. I've always say your bench is the most important part of your team, because they come on, they change the game for you, they win the game for you. they see out the game for you. And it's, you know, attitude amongst the whole squad is so important. But no, competition is great. And it's, you know, it's the personalities in the dressing room that really make the squad, and we've got a lot of good personalities.
You see that in the League of Ireland. It's nearly every year. There's huge turnovers in squads and managers and things like that. At Rovers, it seems to be at real level of consistency. Do you really enjoy that? Just working with the same players kind of year in year out? Obviously, just players brought in to strengthen the squad, but there is a real core group there that's stuck together for a good few years now.
Yeah, no, we do. We have a core group there that kind of run the dressing room. You know, we've got senior players that the manager leaves us to it. You know, he trusts us.
Yeah.
He's you know, at this stage, you know, nothing's changed. You know, our standards just have to keep going up. And no, there's a good group there. So the manager, he doesn't, you know, have to, you know, no disciplinary issues, nothing like that. You know, he leaves us to it. We run it. Anything major, of course, the staff, you know, they make the calls. But from a playing aspect, we've got a good core group there, good, you know, group of professionals, and ultimately, you know, that's, you know, everybody has to, they stay in line, they work hard in training, and if you're not at it, you know, whether it be the players, whether it be the manager, you're pulled up on it. So everyone has to be at it every day, and everyone works hard. That's it. Like, you know what I mean? That's the only way for success.
Were you ever tempted to just look back throughout your whole career? Were you ever tempted to maybe go back abroad at any stage, or was in England or Scotland or anything? Was there ever any talk of anything like that?
Perhaps maybe, you know, when I was in my mid-20s, stuff was, you know, like, you know, maybe close to development. But to be honest, I wouldn't change anything. I'm still, you know, still playing, which I'm very grateful, and still, you know, me, you know, 34 playing for the champions. I'm being very lucky that I've played with successful teams, and I want to keep going. That's it. I just want to keep winning. The drive hasn't changed, and you know, I'm very lucky to be at a club where, you know, I'm in a position where, you know, we have the tools to achieve it. It's up to us to, you know, to do it on the pitch. But I'm very lucky to be at a club that you know, shares the same beliefs as me in terms of, you know, wanting to win things. And as I said, it's not easy. You know, we're looking to win back-to-back titles again. You know, again, obviously we've achieved that last year. We've got to go again. But for us, it's not looking too far ahead. It's looking at the first game of the season, and taking it from there.
100%. Final question for you. Do you have any plans for after football at all? Do you plan on staying in the game, looking at coaching or management, anything like that?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, not so much coaching, not so much managing, more the business side of football. Something that I'd be interested in. Something that, you know, I've been to college. I'll have a degree in sports management.
Brilliant.
I'm working now, you know what I mean? I work, you know what I mean? I do a small bit of part-time work, which again just allows me, you know, just a, you know, nothing that ever affects me football, but it just gives me an opportunity to do that. You know, you're building relationships, you're understanding how the business world works, and then but no, I love football. Football's my passion, something that I'd never want to be without. But in saying that, there's probably not so much of a coaching role, but you know, the business end of the sport is something that, you know, that I've always been interested in. So still a few years before I hopefully have to look at that properly.
Ronan, been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck for the season ahead. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay, Ross, thanks a million.